Hi, this is Mark from Solo. Today I would like to talk to you about Wingspan Oceania Expansion. Thanks Stonemaier Games for sending it for review. And this is the second expansion for Wingspan. The first one was European Expansion. And what do we get here? A lot of new birds. This is quite obvious because Wingspan is all about birds. We have a lot of new birds, new gold tiles, bonus cards, additional eggs with new color, yellow. There is a brand new food type resource called nectar, and we also get 5 new player boards that you have to use instead of the base game player boards if you want to play with this expansion. So let me show you what you will find inside the expansion box, and then I will tell you my opinion on the expansion. So this is the expansion box. It's not that big. The idea is that you put all the components here in the base game box or into the big box that is coming soon. So what do we have here? First we have new eggs. Now they are yellow. They don't give you any special abilities in the game. You just have a new color that you can add to the eggs from the base game. We have 5 new dice, and if you play with this expansion you have to replace the base game dice, because here we have the new symbol nectar, the new type of food that comes in this expansion. So if you play with the expansion you have to use this dice. Here are the nectar tokens. This is a new type of food, and it works as a, you can say, wild symbol, and you can pay with nectar for any other type of, instead of any other type of food. So when you, for example, play a bird and you have to pay, let's say, fish, and you don't have fish but you have nectar, you can use nectar instead. The nectar tokens also can give you additional victory points at the end of the game, depending on how many have you used during the game, and if you are the player with most used spent nectar tokens. I will show you how it works when I show you the new player board. Here we have a few new gold tiles. First there's the end of round reference. You can put it on the table and it reminds you what to do when a round ends. Here are new gold tiles. And for example here you need to have birds that eat specific type of food. For example, here you have to play birds or have birds on your player board with big pointing right or big pointing left. It's quite fun. Birds that give you 3 or less victory points, or cubes on play a bird action. And this one is fun because here it says no goal, and if you use this goal tile at the end of the round you don't spend your action cube. Also you don't score any points because there is no goal, but in the following rounds you will have 1 action cube more because you didn't spend it on the goal. Scoring pad, one side is for Wingspan Automa, the other is for multiplayer game. It's really cool. It introduces the nectar as a new resource that you will get points for at the end of the game. And here we have new cards. There are a lot of new cards because this is where the most important part of this expansion. We have 5 new bonus cards that player can draw at the start of the game. Here, for example, you have to collect sets of 4 nest types, consecutive birds in the forest with ascending or descending wingspans. So they give you additional ways to, you know, score points and some fun. Like here you have columns with a matching pair of trio of nests. So it's cool. New cards. The idea is here that you shuffle all the bonus cards and all the bird cards together with the base game and with the European expansion if you have it. So you'll have a lot of content for this game. Here we have cards for Automa. This is a special card that Automa is using because just like you, Automa can get nectar tokens, and replace them for victory points at the end of the game. So this is a spent nectar collection card for Automa, and this card tells you in which habitat Automa will gain nectar at the end of the round. A new Automa card, action card that you will shuffle with the rest. This is Automa's Horde, a new variant where Automa will get food tokens during the game from brown powers of any birds, and it will exchange these tokens for X at the end of the game. Automarazzi is also a new way to play the game, where 2 to 4 players cooperatively work together against Automa, so it changes Wingspan into a sort of co-op game. And new end of round goals for Automa. It tells you how many let's say cubes or points Automa gets for specific type of end of round goals for round 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here we have a lot of new birds. I will not show you all of them, they have beautiful artwork as usually. The new things here are the yellow abilities. These are the abilities that trigger at game end. So you don't get any bonuses by playing this type of birds during the game, but you will get bonuses at the end of the game. It's a cool new mechanism that forces you to plan ahead and think about the bonuses that you can get at the end of the game. There are a lot of this type of cards, and also there are some cards that don't have any wingspan, like Emu, because this bird doesn't fly. So you can use this wingspan, let's say type, as any type of wingspan for purpose of bonus cards, and a lot of cool cards. So you have to mix them together with the base game cards, and you will have a lot of birds for your wingspan game. This is some kind of an ad. And we have 2 rule books. The first one is for the you can say multiplayer game, but in general for this expansion it tells you how to use nectar tokens. There's the appendix that explains all the bonus cards, the gold tiles and all the new bird powers in this game. In most cases the explanation on cards is very clear and you don't have to use it, but if you have some doubts you can check it in this appendix. And the second rulebook is for Automa. It also tells you how Automa will use nectar tokens, but it also allows you to use this Automa's Horde variant, where when you use birds with brown abilities, brown powers, Automa will score Horde tokens, and then these tokens will be exchanged for X at the end of the game. And this is the variant Automarazzi, where 2 to 4 players can compete against Automa. Luckily there are not as many new rules here, and mostly this expansion is about new content that you add to the base game, so you don't have to spend a lot of time learning new things. And here we have new player boards. You get 5 of them, just like in the base game. They have different background, but also they have space here for spent nectar tokens, because if you spend nectar during the game you don't discard the tokens, but you put them here, and at the game end, when the game ends, a player with majority of nectar tokens in each of the habitat will get additional points, 5 points for first place and 2 points for second place. And there are also new actions. When you look at the top and bottom habitat, here you have additional action where you can spend 1 food resource to reset all the dice in the bird feeder, and here you can spend additional resource to reset all cards on the display. And this is really cool, because sometimes you might get stuck and you might have situations where all the dice in the bird feeder were not exactly the ones you would like to have, or all the cards on display were not the cards you were looking for. Now you can spend resources to reset bird feeder or card display, and have more options. So this is really cool. So this is the content of this expansion. So Oceania Expansion is not the type of expansion that will change your opinion on Wingspan, because it adds more of the same. You get new cards, you get new birds, you get new eggs. Of course, birds have a lot of new abilities, especially the end of the game abilities that trigger at the end of the game, which is cool because they don't give you any bonuses during the game, but at the end of the game you can get additional things. But the gameplay itself is more or less the same. So if you love Wingspan, I think this expansion is a must for you, because you will get more variety and more replayability. And if you didn't like Wingspan, this expansion will not change your mind, because there are no new mechanisms that change the game a lot. The nectar resource, the nectar type of food, is really cool because it works as a wild resource, so you can use it to pay for triggering birds' abilities or to play new birds. And this is really helpful because I remember that in the base game a lot of times you didn't have the right type of food to play your bird cards, and of course there is this bird feeder, but not always the dice in bird feeder show the type of food you would like to have. So having a wild resource is really cool because it allows you to use it in different spaces, but it's also cool that you have to discard unused nectar tokens at the end of the round, so you cannot have a big stack of nectar tokens to use them on the last round. You have to use them in each round because at the end of round they are discarded. You have new dice, of course, you have to be able to get nectar from the bird feeder. And I also like the two new abilities on the player boards, the ones that allow you to reset the bird feeder and reset the card display, because again there were situations where you couldn't find the proper bird you were looking for. You have your bonus card that tells you which type of birds you are looking for, and sometimes all the birds that are in the bird display are not the ones you would like to have, so you have to take one blind from the draw deck, and now you can reset the display and get 3 new cards to choose from. This is cool. As for solo mode, the only main difference is that Automa also gets nectar tokens, because this is the mechanism here that when you use nectar to play birds or to trigger abilities, you don't discard it, but you have to put it on your player board on a specific habitat, and at the end of the game the player with most number of nectar tokens in each habitat gets additional points. So Automa will compete with you here, and Automa gets a new card where it stores the nectar tokens. But the rules for Automa are more or less the same. The difference is that you have this new horde mode that you can use, and when you trigger the brown abilities on birds that give additional dice or food or something to other players, Automa will get the horde tokens, and then it will exchange it for X at the end of the game. So it means for more points. There's also the cooperative mode. I didn't try it because I play mostly solo. In the cooperative mode, all players play against Automa, and they all have to, there are different variants. Either you average all players' score, and the average has to be higher than Automa points, or you get the lowest points from all players, and the lowest score of each of a player of one of the players is you have to make it higher than the Automa points. So a lot of ways to play Wingspan. I'm not sure if Wingspan is a cooperative game, but if you want a more relaxing experience to play with someone and not compete with someone, but compete against an artificial opponent, you have an option to do it. I think, as I said before, Oceania Expansion is like essential for any Wingspan fan, because, well, you get new birds, new abilities and new things, new nectar, new boards. It's really cool, especially that a new expansion is coming together with the big box, the nesting box I think it's called, where you can store the base game and all the expansions in one huge beautiful box, so it's really nice. Thank you for watching the video. If you like my channel, you can subscribe. I will be more than happy. You can visit me on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. I will leave links in the description of the video, and see you next time. Bye.